I just saw the new Indian action film Leo Bloody Sweet at my local AMC, and boy, did I have an outstanding time. Now, you'll see a through line as I am entering into and discovering the fine world of Indian cinema, as I tend to always like them. It might just be that I pick good ones. I don't imagine that I will like every Indian film that I ever see, and I haven't seen a lot in the scheme of how many they have made or how many they even make in a year, but this is yet another that I go to more or less blind. All I knew is that this was an action movie and that the title was Leo Bloody Sweet, and I just sort of let it wash over me over the 2 hours and 44 minutes of its runtime. And in the runtime, by the way, I never feel it. With Indian films, they're always interesting. They always keep the story moving forward. And I've yet to ever feel restless or bored during one, even though there are much, much longer than your traditional American Hollywood type films. What is this film about? As I already said, 2 hours and 44 minutes. No, this film it stars Joseph Vijay as a mild-mannered family man, a man of peace, a man who seeks to avoid violence and conflict, who is also the guy that the local park rangers and police call in when a seemingly vicious CGI hyena is holding this Kashmirian town hostage. I mean, not like with a gun and with people, tied up or anything. It is this large CGI hyena that is running through the town, snarling at people and biting people, and everybody's afraid it's going to attack the school children. And they call in our hero to come in and calmly take care of the situation in a really, really cool opening sequence. It plays like a standard cop movie, but he's not a cop, or a secret agent movie, but he's not a secret agent. But somehow, this mild-mannered cafe owner, purveyor of coffee and sweet treats, knows how to take out a hyena and is really, really good in physical confrontation. Remember that. So the basic story of the film is that the film opens with a really kind of disturbing sequence of a home invasion and violence, and these bad guys wind up finding their way into the town where our hero lives, and they find one of them at least finds his way into the cafe, starts some stuff, starts some conflict, and our hero is very calm. He's just saying, please, sir, leave. We're closed. And when it comes down to the bad guys threatening the life of his daughter and an employee, suddenly violence explodes out of this man that clearly shows you he knows how to handle himself, and maybe he's a little bit more than what he seems. And that's the basic crux, if I may use a word with an X in it, of this film, is that I'm not going to tell you the whole story. The bad guys, the head bad guy of this large criminal organization finds out about this incident where this coffee shop owner has taken out several of his men, and he looks a lot like someone from his past who he believed to be dead that he really wants to have a few words with. So then the film becomes our mild-mannered, not a man of violence, although he can take some people out when he wants to, our mild-mannered hero trying to convince these bad guys that he is not the guy that they're looking for when they insist that he is. So this film is based on, and it says this right up front in text, this film is based on or inspired by the 2005 movie A History of Violence. And I had to look it up. I'd seen A History of Violence. I didn't clearly remember what it was about. I just remember that Viggo Mortensen was in it. And it's the same basic scenario, but this film goes far beyond that in the most wonderfully outrageous ways. So does it have action? Why, yes. Yes, indeed, it does have action. It has the kind of action that, as a fan of the classic Hong Kong cinema of the late 80s and 90s, makes me very, very happy. As a fan of that kind of cinema and action cinema that set the standard for me for what action should be and could be, that we never really get in American movies, Leo Bloody Sweet delivers in a way that had me giggling and smiling and grinning like an idiot, or grinning like more of an idiot, through the entire film. And every time it came up, just spectacularly done. And yes, they use CGI, and yes, they use some technical wizardry here and there, but what they do is really well choreographed and brutal and creative, and at times very funny and amazing. Is there romance in this film? But of course there is romance in this film. Is there singing and dancing in this film? At first I thought it was going to be a no. Not every Indian film has singing and dancing, but it is a staple of a lot of them, and which I love. It's wonderful. You just get a little bit of everything in a lot of these movies. And at first it's just a father and daughter kind of dancing jokily, but later on you do get the full hundreds of people dancing in unison, large, insane scale musical number. done by what looks to be just scores of bloodthirsty killers, but it works great. It's just, this movie is so much fun. It is so good. It is an outstanding action movie. It's a really good drama. It's a good mystery. It is very funny at times, and I was just thoroughly entertained from minute one to the end. Yes, it's a CGI hyena. This is the world we live in. Films, especially if something is potentially dangerous or potentially very tricky, or you need to really make an animal do something really, really specific, a lot of times, I guess, it's easier for a team of animators to do that than a trainer to do it. So I can get over that. If I love the rest of the movie as much as I did with Leo Bloody Sweet, I'll let the CGI and an eagle. The CGI eagle I let slide a little less than the CGI hyena, but there's a CGI hyena and a CGI eagle, and it's amusing and it's great, and the way they use the hyena is great, and they use the hyena in a moment in the film that if I had been seeing this with a larger crowd of people, I would hope people would be cheering and applauding and hooting and hollering, because it was a really great moment in the film. It's a good revenge movie. It's a good siege movie. It's a good movie. So I tell you all that to say, if you're an American, you've probably already missed it in the theater, but one of the logos of the production companies for this film was Netflix. I believe this is already, or produced by, or already on Netflix India, so people can correct me if I'm wrong. It'll probably come to Netflix in America. Netflix doesn't really push the fact that they have a lot of foreign language films and Indian films, but they often do, as does Amazon Prime. So if you look for this, you can probably find it. It's really, really good. If by some stretch that you can see this wherever you see me talking about this stuff, and you can see this on the big screen, you really, really should. One thing that is very interesting to me, I don't know if I've talked about this before in these chats that we have here. When I see Indian films in America, in American theaters, they are always played incredibly loud. I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's just that the files that the theaters get are set much, much louder, and the theaters don't bother to lower the volume to match with what they normally would play. But when I see these in the theater, this time included, I actually had to take my napkin, earmarked for popcorn consumption. I had to take my napkin and tear it up and stick it in my ears because I really didn't want to suffer hearing damage. That's not the fault of the movie at all. It's just some weird thing with Indian films being played in America. I never understand why that is, and I've talked to other people, and apparently it's kind of always that way. I don't know if it's like that in India, if it's played louder or not. I have no idea what it is, but some people lately have been talking, as I record this, about fear that they're going to hear the Taylor Swift movie through the walls of their theater. And let me tell you, if you go to see an Indian film at a theater in America, you ain't going to be hearing anything through the walls. You might not be hearing anything after you walk out either. I don't know, but I don't blame the movies. It's just some weird thing. So anyway, Leo Bloody Sweet, incredibly entertaining. And I keep saying this with every one of these Indian films that I review. I'm telling everybody, you really, really should go see this. This is so much fun. Don't let the fact that it's subtitled throw you. Yes, it is subtitled, but let me tell you, it speaks the international language of entertainment and drama and melodrama and action. You think you like action movies, you need to see some Indian action movies, because wow, they do it right. They've taken the best parts of other film industries, action elements, and they still do it, and they do it correctly, and you can see what's going on in an action scene, and they're creative and funny, and I could go on and on and on. This film is indeed, you knew I was going to do this, right? Bloody sweet. So, in theaters, streaming, physical media, however you can see it, I highly recommend Leo Bloody Sweet. Directed by Lokesh, I'm going to mispronounce the name, but it's not out of disrespect, Lokesh Kanagaraj, who I now want to see more from, because this was a heck of a lot of fun. The film also, and I'm not going to tell you much about the plot other than it's good and it's melodramatic and it's fun. This absolutely sets up a sequel, and I need to find a way to know when that sequel comes out, because I absolutely want to see the sequel. I really hope this sequel plays in theaters. The release patterns for these are really spotty where I am, so they might, we don't get everything, but I really hope I can see the sequel in the theater, because it was a total blast. So see it while you can. Leo, Bloody Sweet.